Hey there everyone, welcome back to another walkthrough series. In this video we're going to discuss about reading passage 3, which is about how does the biological clock tick. So we know reading passage 3, we have to use the active recall. We have to remember and memorize that reading passage 3 is about opinion based, argumentative, and sometimes abstract. So we have we have a long text each, so I think we're going to have we're going to have a matching headings along with some gap filling with yes no given questions. All right, so there we go. So for this video purposes I'm just going to go one by one. So number 5 has already been responded for us, so we're going to take that off. Okay, all right. However, it's really essential to read the first paragraph as always, because you might sometimes find information regarding this one, or maybe regarding this gap filling, or maybe yes no given sometimes. So okay, our lifespan is restricted. Everyone accepts this biologically obvious. Nothing lives forever. However, in this statement we think of artificially produced technical objects, products products which are subjected to natural wear and tear during use. So like during use, okay, so we have to understand that biological clock tick, it's talking about the ages, I guess, because it says lifespan. This leads to the result that at some point or other the object stops working and is unusable. Death in the biological sense, but are the wear and tear and loss of function of technical objects and the death of living organisms really similar or comparable? All right, so paragraph A already answered for us limitation of lifespans, but are there a loss of function of technical objects and death of living organisms? Sometimes the other objects stop working and is other. So pretty much how they're taking this particular sentence and they're saying that it's a limitation, and the limitation is just object stops working and is unusable. All right, so now for the paragraph B. Our dead products are static, meaning simple, closed systems. It is always the basic material which constitutes the object, and which in the natural course of things it is worn down and becomes older. Aging in this case must occur according to the laws of physical chemistry and of thermodynamics. Although the same law holds for a living organism, the result of this law is not inexorable in the same way, meaning not acceptable. At least as long, I think inexorable is, I think pretty much that inexorable means unaccepting, or maybe the way that you cannot be accepted, because the word inexorable is some sort of a process, and I think so like inexorable cannot be accepted, or cannot be changed, or something related to that context. You really have to check that, or something that cannot be maybe stopped or changed, whatever it is. All right, at least as long as biological system has the ability to renew itself, it could actually become older without aging. An organism is an open, dynamic system through which new material continuously flows. Destruction of old material and formation of new material are thus in permanent dynamic equilibrium. The material of which the organism is formed changes continuously. Thus, our bodies continuously exchange old substance for new, just like a spring which more or less mountains maintains its form and movement, but in which the water molecules are always different. Sometimes I tend to make mistakes in terms of reading the words. So, what options do we have? Biological clock, why dying is beneficial, the aging process of man, prolonging your life, modes of development. All right, so the writer explains about the aging of objects in this case. We really have to understand, once again guys, this is a technical problem we have, and some dogs shouting outside. Okay, so sorry for the noise. All right, so what is it saying here? Must occur. So aging in this case must occur to the laws of physical chemistry and thermodynamics. So what is it in this case? must occur. Although the same law holds for a living organism, the result of this law is not inexorable in the same way. At least as long as biological system has the ability to renew itself, it could actually become older without aging. An organism is open. So without aging is that the difference in aging of objects and living organisms is that aging of objects must occur according to the laws of physical chemistry and of thermodynamics in living organisms actually become older without aging. So also, what is it saying here? Material continuously flows. So the material of which the organism is formed changes continuously. Thus, so the material of which organisms form changes continuously. That's another good way to understand. So pretty much. So what is it saying here? Continuously. So thus, so just like spring, which more or less maintains its form, but in which the water molecules are always different. Is formed continuously, and what else do we have? We need to find some important parts. So at least as long as biological system has the ability to renew itself, it could. Why dying is beneficial? The aging process of man and woman. Fundamental differences is in aging of objects and organisms. Living organisms. So we think fundamental living organisms is not exorbitant in the same way. In the same way means differences. So also organism. We have objects. Do we have objects? Of course we have. So based on that, I think fundamental differences in aging of objects and organisms. Fundamental differences meaning fundamental is basically pretty much static. So I think that is the answers for paragraph B is going to be, of course, come on. I think yeah, that's probably so probably 9, of course. Let's just choose 9. Because something that is I mean fundamental, we have static, and it's also talking about aging of objects and organisms. Organism is formed changing continuously. That's our body continuously exchange old substances for new, just like a spring which more or less maintains its form and movement. Alright, now for the paragraph C. Thus aging and death should not be seen as inevitable. Okay. Particularly as the organism possesses many mechanisms for repair, it is not, in principle, necessary for a biological system to age and die. Alright, so nevertheless, a restricted lifespan talks about some sort of a limitation, and then death are basic characteristics of life. Okay, the reason for this is to recognize in nature the existing organisms either adapt or are regularly replaced by new types because of the changes in the genetic material, mutations. Okay, so a restricted lifespan, aging, and then death are basic characteristics of life. In nature, the existing organisms either adapt or are regularly replaced by new types. It needs room for new and better life. Okay, so because of changes in genetic material mutations, these have new characteristics, and in the course of their individual lives, they're tested for optimal or better adaptation to the environmental conditions. Tested for, okay. Immortality would disturb the system. It needs room for new and better life. This is the basic problem of evolution. So what I think here is that pretty much repair of genetic material, well, I don't really think so, but I think why dying is beneficial, because of course dying, restricted lifespan, blah blah blah. Dying is beneficial because changes in the genetic material mutations. These have new characteristics, and in the course of their individual lives, they are tested for optimal or better adaptation to the environmental conditions. Immortality would disturb this system. So, like the biological clock, no aging process of men, women, no prolonging your life, of course not. Modes of development, not talking about that. A stable lifespan despite improvements, of course not again. So the most suitable one is number 2. I'm gonna remove that, so take that away. Once again, but really we have to check that. Yeah, okay, so in nature, the existent organisms either adapt or are regularly replaced by new types, right? So it needs room for and then it says it needs room for new and better life. So that is pretty much about the context. That is pretty much the context. It needs to die because it needs to give room and for a new and better life. So yeah, that's probably the answer. Main idea is conveying about that. So now let's go for the D. Every organism has a lifespan which is highly characteristic. There are striking differences in lifespan between different species, but within one species the parameter is relatively constant. For example, the average duration of human life has hardly changed in thousands of years, although more and more people attain an advanced age as a result of developments in medical care and better nutrition. The characteristics upper limit for most remains 80 years. A further argument against the simple wear and tear theory is the observation that the time within which organisms age lies between a few days. Okay, this is a really good paragraph, by the way. Although more and more people attain an advanced age as a result. So although more and more people as a result of developments in medical care and better nutrition and characteristics, upper limit for most remains 80 years. It's once again, it's talking about I think it's talking about a biological clock. No. Okay, so every organisms, that's what I think. And a further argument against the simple wear and blah blah blah. Organisms that lays between have done as with mammoth trees. Although more and more people attain advanced age as a result of developments. So we have developments meaning improvements. Let me just underline that in red. Okay, we have a stable life despite improvements. Although more and more people are considered to be older, the result of development, but because of the medical care and better nutrition, characteristics upper limit for most remains 80 years. So they somehow extend their age. The further argument against the simple wear and theory is the observation that time within which organisms age lies between blah 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 and several thousands, as with blah 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 once again. Okay. So remains 80 years. So yeah, that's probably what I think. A stable remaining. So yeah, I think I'm gonna put number 7 to this. So choose green color here. Whoops. And remove that. So now for the paragraph E. If a lifespan is genetically determined biological characteristics, it is logically necessary to propose the existence of an internal clock, which in some way measures and controls the aging process. Okay? And which finally determines death as the last step in a fixed program. Like the lifespan, the metabolic rate has, for different organisms, a fixed mathematical relationship to the body mass. In comparison to the lifespan, this relationship is inverted. The larger the organism, the lower its metabolic rate. Again, this relationship is valid not only for birds, but also similarly an average within the systematic unit for all other organisms, plants, animals, unicellular organisms. If a lifespan is genetically determined biological characters, it is logically necessary to propose the existence of an internal clock, which in some way measures and controls the aging process, and which finally finally determines death as the last step in a fixed program. So this means that we should think of aging process in the same ways as an internal biological clock functioning until death. So internal clock, I most probably think is a biological. So yeah, once again, I think we found the answer. It's going to be number 1. All right, we're going to remove that. So the reason that I found about this is that it's not talking about men and women. Once again, there's no prolonging about their life, meaning to make your age last longer. Modes of development different species, of course not, because but certainly they mentioned about species such as plants, animals, but like they're not talking about anything related to the development process, and neither about an energy consumption or repair of genetic material. So yeah, we were left with paragraph F. Animals which behave frugally with energy become particularly old. For example, crocodiles and tortoises. Parrots and birds of prey are often held chained up. So this paragraph is explaining. I think it's pretty much explaining about animals. So we know, but however, the word frugally, animals which behave frugally with energy become critically old. What does actually frugally mean? We don't really have to know about that. I'm not really sure. Frugally. Thus, they are not able to experience life, and so they attain a high lifespan in captivity. Animals which save energy, we have save energy consumption, by hibernation or lethargy. This is actually a very technical term. Bats or hedgehogs live much longer than those which are always active. The metabolic rate of mice can be reduced by a very low consumption of food, hunger diet. They then may live twice as long as their well-fed comrades. Women become distinctly about 10% older than men. If you examine the metabolic rates of these two sexes, you establish that the higher male metabolic rate roughly accounts for the lower male lifespan. That means they live life energetically, more intensively, but not for so long. Animals which save energy live much longer than those which are always active. That is pretty much what it is saying. As far as I know, animals which save energy by something live much longer than those which are always active. And therefore, I think it's talking about energy consumption. 100%. Nothing is more suitable than that. Because if you ask why, well, certainly there's nothing about something that redoing of something related to genetic material. Modes of development, of course not. Prolonging life, not again. Men and women were not mentioned except for the fact that they were talking about two sexes. You establish higher male and blah blah blah. That means the way. However, I mean the aging process of it's not an aging process if that means they live life energetically more intensively, but not for so long. If this was changed, if this that would be changed to demonstrate or maybe show the process of how these two sexes age, then at that time we would probably choose number 3, but of course it's not suitable for us, so we're left with paragraph G. It follows from the above that sparing use of energy reserves should tend to extend life. Now, extend life. Now, this one is 100% talking about prolonging. Extreme high performance sports may lead to optimal cardiovascular performance, but they quite certainly do not prolong life. Relaxation lowers metabolic rate, as does adequate sleep, and in general, an equable and balanced personality. Each of us can develop his or her own energy saving program with a little self-observation, critical self-control, and above all, logical consistency. Experience will show that to live in this way not only increases the lifespan, but is also very healthy. The final aspect should not be forgotten. Extending. This is totally talking about prolonging. Prolonging your life. So that is it's going to be number 4 for us. Okay, so we're finished with the list of headings. Now, okay, let me just highlight that as well. Now we're left with gap filling. Objects age in accordance with principles of something. But I know the principles. It was talking in. Let's see. It was somewhere around here. Principle. Aging in the states must occur according to the laws. So objects in accordance with principles, with according to the laws is according to the principles, okay, of physical chemistry and of thermodynamics. So the answer is pretty simple: physical chemistry. So like physical chemistry. We gotta underline that. I mean highlight it. And thermodynamics. All right, so let me just make this as red as possible. All right, we will take that. And once again, through mutations, organisms can something better to the environment. And remember, there was a word, mutation, somewhere we met it. Because of changes in genetic material mutations, these have new characteristics in the course of their individual lives. They are tested for optimal or better adaptation. So like, not really. Through mutations, organisms can something better to the environment. Maybe it's asking for some sort of a verb here. Just have to understand that. Nevertheless, there is still a lifespan. The reason for this is to recognize, because of changes in genetic material, mutations, these have new characteristics, and in the course of their individual lives, they are tested for optimal and better adaptation to the environment conditions. Thus, aging and death should not be seen as another particularly. So it's really hard to understand here somehow. I think we're missing something here. But I remember it was also talking. Thus, aging should not be seen as inevitable, particularly as the organism making too far to bear. It is principle necessary for life existence to die. Nevertheless, the lifespan, age, and death are basic characteristics. Okay. In nature, the existent organisms either adapt or are regularly replaced. That is. And then it says, because of changes in the genetic material, mutations, these have new characteristics, and in the course of their individual lives, they are tested for optimal or better adaptation to the environment conditions. So, of course, we cannot put adaptation, so the correct word is going to be adapt. So, we're going to choose that as well. Adaptation better to the environment, of course, grammatically wrong. So, would pose a serious problem for the theory of evolution. And we remember there was a This is the basic problem of evolution. What is the basic problem? Immortality would disturb this system. It's talking about the system over here. Immortality would destroy the system. So immortality is the lives that lasts forever. So immortality is going to be the answer for us. Pretty quick over here. We're doing immortality. So we're gonna choose that. Underline it. Bolder. The wear and tear theory applies to both artificial objects and biological systems. But I know that. So I read it here. It says subjected to natural wear and tear during use. All right. Nothing lives forever. However, in this statement, we think of artificially produced technical objects, products which are subjected to natural wear and tear during use. And then it says, but are the wear and tear and loss of function and technical objects and death of living organisms really similar to comparable? Okay, here it says wear and tear applies to both artificial objects and biological systems. The wear and tear theory applies to both artificial objects and biological systems. Here it is questioned, but it is the basic material which constitutes the object and which the natural course of things is worn down and becomes older. Okay, so that's pretty. The material. It's really hard to changes continuously. Dynamic system through which new material continuously flows. So biological system, living organisms or biological systems. So I think that is but the first one here is but are the wear and tear and loss of function of technical objects or questions whether they are comparable to the living of organisms. So the wear and tear and loss of function of technical objects are questioned whether they are comparable to the death of living organisms. And then in paragraph B, it is a little bit emphasizing, saying, although the same law holds for a living organism, the result of this law is not inexorable, cannot be changed in the same way. At least as long as biological system has the ability to renew itself, it could actually become older without aging. An organism is an open, dynamic system through which new material continuously flows. No. That is, the answer is no. Let me just put that. Bingo. In principle, it is possible for biological system to become older without aging. Once again, we found that at least as long as biological system has the ability to renew itself, it could actually become older without aging. So biological system can become older without aging. So yes. So when you're doing questions like yes or no given, also it can be the thing that I'm going to apply right now is similarly it could work both to yes or no given and true false not given. It is basically when you see these kinds of statements, this statements over here, it's going to be true false not given, yes or no given. Once again, what you actually have to do is that you just pretty much have to ask a question. Within 7 years, about 90% of human body is replaced as new, and you just pretty much have to make this sentence as a question. So the question would be in here. 90% of human pretty much what we can hear is that within 7 years about 90% of human bodies are replaced as new. Is human body replaced as new within 7 years to about 90%? So what you have to do is you just have to search for that then. And but I know there was nothing about 7 years, was it? I'm pretty sure there was nothing about 70 years. Do we have anything about 70 years? I never read it. I'm 100% sure it's not given, right? We never read about that. So just not given. Why waste time? Conserving energy may help to extend humans' life. And we remember it was in paragraph G. So if you're asking how I am so a tiny bit quick in terms of finding the spots of answers, it's just pretty much I read everything carefully, which means after finding out the keywords, pretty much what I do is just pretty much I just have to go through the questions of what keywords. Sometimes I just have to remember, but not necessarily remember. I just have to register those words to my brain, and then while I'm reading, I know my brain will actively memorize that for me when I just encounter that word again within the text. So it's going to be pretty much easier for me to navigate through the answers. So and once again, conserving energy may help to extend the human life, meaning saving energy may help to prolong a human's life. And we know it follows from the above that sparing use of energy reserves should tend to extend life. Conserving energy means sparing use of energy reserves, meaning to save. All right, so then we have yes for that as well. So there you go, guys. We finished test number 3 finally. Passage number 3. We didn't. It was fairly easy in comparison to previous passages that we have covered in this walkthrough episode. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed it, if you have any questions, you can just pretty much leave them. Leave your questions in the comment section below. If you find it helpful, please smash that like button, and of course, if you don't want to miss out the next videos and upcoming new videos, please of course subscribe, hit that beautiful ring bell over there. You just hit that, and you will get the notification. So once again, thank you very much for your time, for your beautiful time, and have a wonderful time as well.